All right, so Bradley had a pull of 146.15 at 16.4. We have one more hook in this class, which was our first puller, James Mathis, coming back on Fortified out of Madison, Virginia. James Mathis in first place with a pull of 262.89. He's going to be followed by Stanley Powell with a pull of 215.77. And then in third place we have Stepp with a pull of 199.25. Jack Knight had a pull of 329.57. Again, 329.57 at 5.2 miles an hour. That's going to put him in first place with Memphis in second place and Lucy in third place.
right, Ethan's coming back again. He turned that hook down.
So that was Mr. Beale with a pull of 81.74, 81.74 at 10.8 miles an hour. All right, that was John Copsey on New Sheriff in Town out of Martinsburg, West Virginia with a pull of 283.61 at 8.8 miles an hour. That was James Mathis with a pull of 277.53 at 18.6 miles an hour. He did turn that pull down and will come back. Up next, we're going to have Zach Knight on Most Hated 2 out of Stanley, Virginia. That was Zach Knight on Most Hated 2 out of Stanley, Virginia with a pull of 284.75 at 15.2 miles an hour. Up next, we're going to have John Tyler on Untamed out of Culpeper, Virginia. right, that was Denise Morris on Voo Doo with a pull of 188.93 at 18.1 miles an hour. Up next, we're going to have Jay Morris on Sling out of Green, Virginia. Sorry guys, just need to catch up on the announcing. That was Jerry Nuckols with a pull of 319.06, 16.4. I think somebody put some wings on that tractor today. Before that, we had Zach Knight on Pretty Hated from Stanley, Virginia. He had a pull of 267.02. And Jay Morris prior to that was 239.33. Up next, we're going to have Denise Morris on Sling out of Green, Virginia. That was a pull of 236.35, 236.35. Your finishing lineup is as follows. Jerry Nuckols is going to be in first place on Casper out of New Canton, Virginia with a pull of 319.06, followed by Zach Knight on Most Hated 2 in second place out of Stanley, Virginia with a pull of 284.75, and Denise Morris in third place on Queen Sling out of Green, Virginia with a pull of 273.18. So John Copsey had a pull of 340.13 at 13.2 miles an hour. Up next, we're going to have Russell Liskey on Big Red out of Broadway, Virginia. The finishing lineup for this class is John Copsey in first place with a pull of 340.13, Roy Lilly in second place with 321.84, and Russell Liskey in third place with a pull of 296.79. All right, Maryanna Rothgeb on Runaway Club out of Elkton, Virginia with a pull of 267.89 at 7.9 miles an hour. Up next, we're going to have Cody Cook on Noise Complaint out of Luray, Virginia. All right, that was Cody Cook on Noise Complaint out of Luray, Virginia with a pull of 163.44 at 11 miles an hour. All right, that was Miley Cook on By Felicia out of Luray, Virginia with a pull of 329.80 at 14.3 miles an hour. On Barely Legal with a pull of 326.99 at 14.6. Your class lineup as follows. In first place, you have Miley Cook on By Felicia out of Luray, Virginia with a pull of 329.80. Followed by Mike Dispinette with a pull of 326.99. And in third place, you have Maryanna Rothgeb on Runaway Train at a pull of 267.89. All right, so this is going to be Miley Cook on the Mini Cookie Monster out of Luray, Virginia. This is actually going to be just an exhibition pull. She's going to be followed by Lucy Cook. And she has a pull of 272.41 at 5 miles an hour. 272.41 at 5 miles an hour. All right, so Lucy Cook decided to keep this hook, and that's going to give her a pull of 264.82 at 4.3 miles an hour. All right, that's going to give Caitlin a pull of 328.90, 328.90 at 3.9 miles an hour. All right, that's Jett Knight with a pull of 261.84, 261.84 at 4.9 miles an hour. Caitlin Hawkins on Barracuda out of Harrisonburg, Virginia in first place, 328.90, followed by Lucy Cook with a pull of 264.82, and Jett Knight in third place with a pull of 261.84. right, so Greg Knight Jr. on Reaper had a pull of 291.64 at 15.4 miles an hour. Up next, we're going to have Ryan Campbell on Wild Card out of Stanley, Virginia. right, so up first on the hook in our 2000 mini rod class is going to be Mike Ryder on Forgiven out of Madison, Virginia. Alright, so Wilson had a pull of 217.12 at 12.9 miles an hour. Alright, so up next we have Timmy Wyatt on Just Ugly out of Crozet, Virginia. So Timmy had a pull of 173.65, 173.65 at 11.7 miles an hour. Up next, we're going to have James Mathis on Fordified out of Madison County, Virginia. At 13.6 miles an hour. Up next we have Jay Morris on Wee Bit Wicked out of Greene, Virginia. So Jay had a pull of 170.87 and 11.3 miles an hour. Up next we have Stanley Powell on Harvest Time out of Sandersville, Virginia. So Stanley had a pull of 174.82 at 12.1 miles an hour. Up next, we're going to have Bradley Deane on the Mad Scientist out of Ruckersville, Virginia. That was Bradley Deane with a pull of 118.26 at 8.3 miles an hour. And again, we're coming back to Mike Ryder, who was our first person on the hook, and he turned his initial hook down, so he will come back again. right, so 113.81 at 8 miles an hour. Your finishing lineup is going to be James Mathis in first place with a pull of 222.11. Second place is going to be Wilson Stepp with a pull of 217.12. And in third place, Stanley Powell and Harvest Time with a pull of 174.82.
Davis, come over and pick you something out.
Ryder on stimulus out of Madison, Virginia with a pull of 185.55 at 30 miles an hour. He was the first on the hook and he did keep that hook. Up next we're going to have John Tyler on Untamed out of Culpeper, Virginia. All right, that was a pull of 104.08 at 10.1 miles an hour. Up next, we have Greg Knight on Reaper out of Double Hollow, Virginia. That was a pull of 223.65 at 13.3 miles an hour. Up next, we have Kevin Ryder on Predator out of Madison, Virginia. That was a pull of 174.25 at 12.7 miles an hour. Up next, we're going to have Talon Knight on Most Hated 2 out of Stanley, Virginia. That was a pull of 201.20 at 13.8 miles an hour. Up next we have Jerry Nuckols on Casper out of New Canton, Virginia. 200.80 at 12.4 miles an hour. Up next, we're going to have James Mathis on Broken Chains. at 13.1 miles an hour. Up next, you're going to have a Denise Morris on Voo Doo out of Green, Virginia. All right, 191.10 to 11.4 miles an hour. Up next, we have Davis Ryder on Lost Cause out of Madison, Virginia.
Ryan Campbell just had a pull at 228.43. And before Ryan, we had Davis Ryder. Unfortunately, Davis DQ. Ryan just took first place for right now. Up next, we have Denise Morris, then Timmy Wyatt, and then Zach Knight.
Ugly Jr. out of Crozet, Virginia. That pull of 244.55, followed by Ryan Campbell in second place with a pull of 228.43, and Timmy Wyatt in third place with a pull of 227.06. 1950 Open Mini, you are up next. right, so that was Wilson Stepp on 50/50 out of Crozet, Virginia. He had a pull of 2:43.88 at 15.8 miles an hour. He did keep that pull. Up next, we're going to have James Mathis on Fordified. James with a pull of 289.53 at 17.4 miles an hour. Up next, we have Stanley Powell on Harvest Time out of Standardsville, Virginia.
Bradley had a pull of 281.27. 281.27. Up next to see Timmy Wyatt. The results from the 1950 Open Mini was first place was Stanley Powell, second place was James Mathis, third place Wilson Stepp. All right, we need a 1450 Outlaw to line up. 1450 Outlaw to line up.
All right, up next we have Timmy Wyatt on Just Ugly Jr. out of Crozet, Virginia. That was a pull of 207.29 at 13.5 miles an hour. Up next we have Zach Knight on Most Hated 2. 256.69 at 17.1 miles an hour. Up next, we have Ryan Campbell on Wild Card out of Stanley, Virginia. 220.23 at 15.4 miles an hour. Up next, you have Zach Knight on Pretty Hated out of Stanley, Virginia. 255.82 at 16.9 miles per hour. Final order. James Mathis on Broken Chains, 287.32. Zach Knight on Pretty Hated, 282.24. And Zach Knight in third place on Most Hated 2 at 256.69. This is going to be our final class for the evening. This is going to be the 1900 Mini Rod class. So Carrie had a pull of 206.72 at 12.9 miles an hour. She did turn that down, so she'll come back at the end. Up next, we have Caitlin Hawkins on Lethal Threat out of Harrisonburg, Virginia. Caitlin had a pull of 150.87 at 9.7 miles an hour. Up next, we're going to have Timmy Wyatt on Just Ugly out of Crozet, Virginia. All right, 224.45 at 14.2 miles an hour. Up next, we have Kevin Ryder on Forgiven out of Madison, Virginia. $174.88, $174.88 at 11.3 miles an hour. Up next, we have Stanley Powell of Harvest Time out of Standardsville, Virginia. Stanley had a pull of 2:43.44 at 14.2 miles an hour. Up next, we have James Mathis on Fordified. .47.56 at 13.6 miles an hour. And Carrie Deane is going to come back with a mad scientist out of Ruckersville for her final hook. All right, so that was a pull of 164.31 for Carrie Deane. The final lineup is James Mathis on Fordified in first place with a pull of 247.56, followed by Stanley Powell in second place with 243.44, and Timmy Wyatt in third place with 224.45. This is just going to be an exhibition pull. This is an exhibition pull.